development ergonomics, and each year we take 5 students in sound. What we learn to them is how you produce sound in games, what is the relation between the image and sound, because students have already a good background on sound. They have already a bachelor in sound design generally, but it's classical linear sounds, recording and things like that. So maybe they don't know really the problem relation between sound and image, the sound and interactivity, which is the core of games, what is really the sound in games and interactive media, what are the specific tools, particular game engine, like Wise, Fmod, things like that, and how you work with other people, in particular how you work with the sound program. And they make projects, and I will go very quickly through a set of student projects which are, from my point of view, a good example, for example, of sound design. I will show you this one. This one is a Facebook game in 3D. And I would say which is interesting is the sound design. I will not show you the whole in-game because it's too long. Let's go to games where you have really something related to music. This is a synchronous game. It's a game of life. It's the life of somebody, and it goes synchronously. So the music is controlling, I would say, the interactivity. Take another kind of example, some games where you have an integration between a really integration between the sound design and the music and the whole set. The two games are played on tablets. Michel is where is my? Michel is a game for children on iPad. I will not have the time to show the whole game, but the idea is that when you change the text, the story changes. You can exchange words, and as you change words, the whole story changes. And the last one, which is competing today, it's also a game on tablet. probably it's open the idea what will be sound in next year. There are research projects in the lab, which is in Paris. Some project, maybe if you have time, if you go to La Cité des Sciences, the big exhibition on games, you will see a game called Evin Blind Mutant Attack, which is mainly a game where blind people play against somebody who is not blind. And the sound is in the core of the game, and generally the blind people win. We have some people making PhD, and maybe the subject of PhD Open, we had a PhD, I've just taken the one of this year, which was finished in June, which is how you represent sounds in games, in particular in Colada. Cécile is finishing a PhD about composition in sounds and relation between very guided composition through emergent composition. And Guillaume Tiger is finishing a sound with a sound generator of CT sounds. And I have finished. So if you are interested about sound in games, we have a very collaboration between La SACEM and Engmin in 2 weeks, where you will learn about interactive sounds. And if you want to read about our point of view of Cécile and me about sound in music and the future, there is a paper on the website of INA called Le son dans les jeux vidéo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stéphane. Wolf, would you like to?
Hello, everybody. Just trying to get the microphone right. Okay. So I'm going to do something really terrible right now. I'm going to show a trailer. And normally I wouldn't even need to talk. I can just stand here and let the trailer do the talking, but I hate that because then I'm totally useless. So this is why I'm going to stop the trailer every 5 or 10 seconds whenever I feel like there's something to talk about it, so I'm not completely worthless. Let me check where the folder is. Do you know where the
sound folder?
Is that this one? Okay. That's me. Okay. Good. Okay, so I'm already making the first stop. This was the name of our company, Freaks. We are an independent game developer studio from Germany. And this is Beat Buddy. I don't know if anybody already heard about the game. It's all on Steam since 2 months or something for PC, Mac, Linux.
Epic music adventure.
It's an epic music action adventure.
With music and puzzles.
Yeah, so that's actually the idea of having this genre hybrid that we're trying to develop for 4 years. We started as a university project in the University of Hamburg, and we had this idea to create a music game that is not a music game, so you can play Beat Buddy with or without sound.
And action.
And of course a lot of action, so it's not that typical music game where everything is in rhythm. It's more like a synergetic experience where you play, and because all the mechanics in the game are the music itself, you kind of get clues what happens next. So it's a very flowish experience, if that's a word.
An adventure and music.
I think I already said music, so.
It's a non-linear music experience.
So the non-linear music experience, that was extremely important for us because in Beat Buddy we have each level is based on a song that was composed just for the game. For example, from Austin Wintory, we already heard in a panel before, he did the music on Journey. He did a track for Beat Buddy, and we took a look at the structure of the song, and then we implemented it in our game design, in our level design. So basically what you can do non-linear, you can walk forwards and backwards inside his composition. And the idea is that this 3-minute composition is stretched over 40, 50, 60 minutes depending on how fast you progress inside the song. Yeah, that's the non-linear music game. Terrible word explanation.
Composed by engaging musical gameplay that gives you the power to mix it and switch it while you're...
So, and that's actually the clue. I mean, you kind of saw like all the mechanics that you're interacting with, action mechanics, they're all instruments of the song. Like you have the hi-hat crab, you have the bass drum that will bounce you through walls. So as you add up, as you go on in the levels and they get more and more complicated, the song kicks more in because every game mechanic is a placeholder for an instrument, so you basically are inside an interactive playable music video.
Moving forward and backward. The way you interact with the game mechanics will change the songs. While you're having an adventure, or solving a puzzle, or being immersed in total action. Discover the musical world Symphonia through 6 exciting environments, all built up with super incredibly detailed hand-drawn graphics that are looking awesome.
Yeah, so actually our core strength was that all the stuff is developed, like is hand drawn. It's pretty cool, but at the same time, in order to get this music synchronization right with all the instruments that will come together to a song, we developed a pattern pending sound technology that would generate behavior for mechanics in real time, but that doesn't sound cool in a trailer.
All this comes to life with an exclusive set of funky, groovy, clubby, and crazy tunes that'll make love to your ears. It's a music game. It's an action game. It's an adventure game with music all over the place. Beat Buddy, Tale of the
Ah! Mom! It is ready. Ruined my trailer! Are you playing your stupid game? Kids are not stupid!
Yeah, so that's Beat Buddy. Try to give a little bit of background, and yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so next up, thank you, Wolf. Next up, we've got Vincent.
It's tough after Wolf. So, this is a corporate presentation, so probably more boring than trailer, but I'll do it fast. So I'm Vincent, the CEO of Game Audio Factory. So we are a French company dedicated to sound production for video games. And so yeah, we've got nice studios, and here are the services we're offering. So we are probably the only company in France with such services, because we are really dedicated to the video games. So we are offering audio consulting and programming, music production licensing, of course SFX production, sound design, etc., etc. One really interesting thing is that we are offering integration on site, which is we have people on site in the development studio. So right now we got people at Cyanide, at Amplitude, and one guy at Ivory in Lyon on the crew. And yeah, guys are moving from one studio to another depending on the crunch period, and so the challenge for us is to find enough customers and jumping from one mission to another. But yeah, it works. And otherwise, we're offering also localization. We are the French representative of Native Prime, which is a European group of localization. So what is cool for indies is that we can offer, of course, sound production, but we can take care of the localization of the game. We got a team dedicated to translation. We are dealing with glossaries, translation memories, etc. We are covering around 30 languages, and let's say 12 on a daily basis. So some of them here are using these services, and so we are covering all Asian, North American, etc. And of course the dubbing, because that was our core knowledge. And yeah, we are also now developing tools with Solidanim, which some of you probably know, which is one of the best companies in France in motion capture. And so we are working with them on a really nice tool based on the Kinect sensor, and which is facial. So we got a setup in each European studio with a facial motion capture setup, which helps a lot on small production to have a real nice synchronization between the voice and the facial animation. at really a low cost. And of course we are offering a lot of services that are interesting for indies, like we got all the devices to shoot from your games in HD, so from all the devices, and we are doing a lot of trailers, etc. So that's enough. So I just switch, and some of our customers, that's an old slide, some of them are already dead, but we got new ones, of course, and yeah, we are working a lot with indies, and got few new ones in Angoulême, like Equilibre, Noego, etc. And yeah, big ones like Amplitude. We were really proud of this project and the following ones. That's really a great team, Paris, and really creative. So we are really proud of being part of the Amplitude projects. Otherwise, we got a lot of credits from AAA to really small indies games like My Baby. Yeah, I have recording my kids during the summer with a lot of microphones, and it was with Martial Dancing Dots, which is not there anymore, but yeah, we've done quite a lot of games. And recently, yeah, the most recent one are all the Cyanide games, most of the Focus Home interactive games, and of course Amplitude, and a lot of indies, because we got a lot of young companies here, which is pretty cool in France. Quite a lot of new indies, fresh blood, and new ideas. And that's it. I mean, we got a new office in Brazil, because there's a lot of Latin American requests for localization. So I got one guy here. And I'm also part-time teacher at the Engmin on sound design and audio engine programming. And that's it. Sorry.
And last but not least, Sebastian.
Hello, I'm Fabien Delpiano, I'm Pensez Games, and I will try something very spectacular to connect Macintosh to that machine. No. Probably won't work. Pensez Games, many games with a special focus on sound. Well, to say the truth, we are trying every game to give the sound a real place in the design of the game, and starting from day one. So probably the most effort that we've done in integration between sound and the gameplay itself, to really make the sound you hear a result of the interactivity you had with the game, was in Maestro Jumping Music, released in 2009. And it was, well, we have been discussing for 2.5 years the production of the game, whether it was a platformer with a musical setting or a musical game with a platformer setting. Well, after 2 years of hard discussion on that topic, I still don't know whether it's a platform, an action game with the music that sticks on the action and that eventually makes nice music, or if it's a musical game, a musical-oriented game with just some platforming actions on top of it. Well, anyway, let's show it in action. So you have that bird that you won't see because the pixels are big and the screen not that good. But well, you've got a pink bird running on wires, and while he's running on wires, you have to help him reach the end of the level, because of course the wires will interrupt, they will double, they will go mad at some point, and you have to jump from wire to wire and try not to fall. To help him jump, you will have your stylus and you will strum the wires. If you strum them top down, then of course you will make that with the wire and the bird will jump up. And if you're strumming the other way around, bottom up, then he will fall. And the moment exactly when you strum the wire decides when you will jump. So the path of the bird on the screen will depend totally on what you are doing. And of course, when you're strumming the wires, they make sounds. So there is a background music playing with an orchestra, and you're doing usually the solo part and the drums, depending on the levels. So here, when you are hitting the bird, they make a pok pok pok, and when you're strumming the wires, they make a ding 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 ding. And when you do the perfect, you're playing a solo music. And as you're really playing the solo part, if you're not playing well, people probably won't recognize the score that you're playing, because really you are the soloist and you are the drummer. So the performance really, when you play well, at the end of the day, you really play the music. And you have the feeling, because you've got that really close contact with your stylus between your fingers and that strange instrument that is the screen of the Nintendo DS. You eventually really got the feeling that you're playing an instrument, and it was really fun to do that because we took music, we took scores, and we built levels out of scores. And the first level design of our levels was the original score from the author. And we've been working on that for 2 years, and after 2 years, we could not help, when we were listening to music, to wonder if it would be a good level. Because you become completely fucked up in your head, and you're like saying, oh yeah, the guitar, it goes up, and then it goes down, and then there is, oh yeah, that would be a very good game design. And then we had to figure out how to get the rights on the music, and that was another problem. Well, so that was one, probably the most effort we've been doing in integrating music and action in the game. These days we're working on another game, which I'll try to show you, if it fits in the screen. Probably it won't. Oh, that's so hard. No, stop me. No. True? Yes. So, this one, the focus of integrating music and gameplay was quite different, because it's it was looked too easy. No, it's not playing, of course. Why should it play, after all? Does it play here? No. Fuck you.
Just play it like that.
Sorry. Who cares about your thing? Strange. Well. So this game is it's a strange mix of a Pac-Man, of a snake, and all of these occur in a fractal world. So you keep zooming in the levels, and you keep deep inside the matrix. And in this game, it was really related to Pac-Man. And in Pac-Man, a very important thing is the whacka 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 whacka. When you listen to this sound, you know that it's Pac-Man. And the sound is incredibly good, and we wanted to make something, of course, different, not copy Pac-Man. And so but we knew that having the Waka Waka was absolutely necessary, something like it. And we had this idea to make procedural music. So the sound of your walking in the game makes music, but it's not a written music, it's generated music, and the music is completely generated depending on what you're doing in the game, if you go right, if you go up, left, and down. So that's the one part of what you will have to pay attention in the music, is the Waka Waka, which is musical. And the other thing is we really want to have the music to fit how well you play. In the game you will have combo going up and down. You have your speed that will go up and down depending on how well you turn against the walls, and how well you catch the eggs and not lose your combo. And depending on all of these, the speed you're running and how high is your combo will mix the music differently. And at the end, the music is completely mixed at runtime, depending on how well you play. And the funny thing is that, for example, yesterday we had a big focus test with 10 players, and I was just behind the screen, and just by listening and paying attention to what I heard, I knew if they were performing well or not. And that's what the focus on the thing. So I'll just show you a short sneak peek.
If we look at it as an art form almost of its own, what is the future of it? Where is it going? Who wants to start? One with the biggest smile.
So I can't help it, that's genetical. So, it's actually something that I've been thinking a lot lately, because the genre of music video games faces a lot of prejudices. You don't really expect innovation. After all, like whenever you hear the word music games, you think of Guitar Hero, Rock Band, all that kind of stuff, casually pushing buttons to the rhythm, and you very likely don't even know about all those other great titles like Sound Shapes and also Maestro, and you know, there's a lot of titles out there who play very innovatively with music, but it's not really a genre that is sustainable from a financial point. So like a lot of developers who try music games will very likely not try again unless they're very, very passionate about it, because it's really hard to find an audience for it. So it's like I think it will take some time and a lot of idealism to push that genre forward. But I think there's a lot of potential inside the genre, because it's like I think from all the disciplines that Dino also described before that are accumulating inside a video game, audio and sound is definitely the one that speaks the most universal language. I mean, if we go all inside a disco after some beers, we can all dance together to the same music and go crazy, but we maybe not likely to agree on a Fango or if Transformer is a good movie, which is definitely not a good movie. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of potential, but from a commercial side, it's really not. It will take some time, I would say.
Fabian?
For me, I think there is a huge space for improvement in terms of generating a sound that sounds like what you're doing on screen. Really ideally to generate, to have an orchestra looking at what you're doing on the screen and playing something that is really according to what you're experiencing. Of course, it can go from just smart mixing to more generative things, to more like in Maestro, taking a score as the base of a level, for example, if you are many games these days are on rails, so you know where people will go. They're in the tunnel. So of course, if you are in the tunnel, you know how fast they run, you know how far they will go, and you can predict where they will be and what they will be interacting in some minutes or seconds. And so, because you know what will happen, you know the future, because both you did the level and you did the rail and you did the tunnel. You can of course generate music and generate sounds, and for I think for us that's a real, a huge field of investigation to know how not just play music that has been recorded by somebody who probably knew nothing about the game, but to make the music fit to what's happening inside the game.
Yeah, has anybody done any work on crafting? I mean, in a sense you have, you craft the game, the level around the score. What about crafting an entire great game around a musical piece? Or Stéphane can say something.
It's actually we tried to do that with Beat Buddy because each level is not. We didn't design a level saying, okay, now we can have those mechanics. We looked at all the pieces that have been produced just for the game and followed up on the composition, like the chorus, the part, and just saw which mechanics we needed to build up that momentum. So that's definitely something like we are very curious to find out because, in a way, if you are going like from a game design term, there's this word flow, which kind of describes that the progress that you're learning stuff, and at the same time the game's getting harder, that you go into this feeling that you're naturally combining your skills together with the game. And it's really interesting because in Beat Buddy what we discovered is that because of the music you kind of dance a bit, and since all the mechanics are also like based on that movement, you instantly get into this flow-like situation. So this is something we are very curious about, to find out how dancing and learning skills in video games and control can be combined. That is something we are very curious about.
Stéphane, you wanted to say something?
What I wanted to say is exactly related to the answer. First, I want to say that the distinction between music in games and musical games is very important. You have a lot of musical games where the music is very bad. So let's talk about music in games, and also the distinction in game between music, delay effect, and sound of return, from my point of view, is not really interesting. If you make a good game, then the whole thing is integrated, the whole sound design, the part of each time you press a button, the sound you produce is important for the player, but it's also a part of the sound design. And even in certain games, look for example at Limbo. In Limbo, the whole design is based on electroacoustic music. The sound is made of sounds, music is made of sound, and the return and everything is a part of the game. So from my point of view, something which is very important for games and any interactive thing which will come is that the idea, we have to go out of the idea that there is a composer making music, there are people making foley effect, and there are people making return sound. You need somebody who has at the beginning the idea of the whole sound design and how the whole interaction will be integrated in the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'd like to move on to another question, which was how can get games that, it's basically the topic of games that help people learn a real musical instrument. Got any comments on that?
I don't know. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of games that help to discover music. I mean, we all think about Rockman, etc., where you discover the instrumentation, the different instruments. You try to play it on toys, but you try to play it. You discover the...
Is there a way we could perhaps move it on from it being with toys? So, for example, in Rock Band or Guitar Hero originally was obviously with just a toy. So what I'm thinking is, I see people who play those kinds of games and become so good at them that I'm thinking, my God, why didn't they spend all of that effort learning to play a real musical instrument? Do you know what I'm saying? Are they be virtuosos?
The difference, the fundamental difference is, take a game like Electroplankton, which is a very classical musical game, and take a violin. You give to a young children a violin, during 6 months nobody can come near the children because he will make terrible music. If you give him Electroplankton, he will never make a terrible music because it's a toy. And the whole thing is made that you cannot make really bad music. You cannot really make good music also. But you have to always have the pleasure. if you learn violin during several months or even several years, you will not have the pleasure. You will have only the fact of learning an instrument.
But I think that we can have the same experience if you became very good at, let's say, Guitar Hero. Then you learn some things like pushing buttons on some plastic guitar and pushing that stick. And okay, but that's not the important part. What you really learn is how to relate to rhythm, how to play with other people, because the game is playing a music and you're playing on top of it. And you're learning also how melody, they melt together to make the whole experience. And that's and probably when you go to a real instrument, you will already have an experience of another instrument. And like probably, like if you've been playing piano for 10 years, and then you go to violin, you will not be as rookie as somebody who has never played any instruments, because you already know many things about music itself. Of course your fingers do know the instrument, they do not know how they will fit on that new thing. And you had a plastic toy and this is another feeling, or other buttons, and okay, that's different. But music is still music. And if you learn something, and video games are good for that, because you can help people have the pleasure right away, have instant reward. When they push the button, they have instant reward. But still, that's also a discussion that we had for months and years on Maestro, is should we allow people to make bad notes? Or should we just like, okay, you missed that, and no problem, it's okay. And for me, the big problem with Wii music is that whatever you were doing, it was playing right. And you had no reward because you felt, oh, that time I've got it. And last time I was not so good, and now I'm good at that. And if you don't have also the really feeling that you are doing the notes, and that what you're doing with, I don't know, your screen, stylus, and plastic buttons, everything has a real impact on what you're listening, then you're probably learning nothing. And with music was just, you learned nothing. But if you're just pressing a button and you hear a return of what you did, and the return mixes with the background music, probably, no matter what the game is, you're already learning something.
It's probably true. But it's a bit of a dilemma, isn't it? Between making it so that you can make a mistake in a game, but I mean, it's the point with the violin and the child. You can only really make by making mistakes, but then we don't want the person to have a negative experience, but then they don't learn it. We don't have enough time to go into that further, unfortunately. I'd like to, because we're running a bit short of time, is there a future for video games as a performance art? And I should explain by that, I mean actually the process of making a video game as a performance. Many different art forms have performance versions. Is there a future for video games in this context?
I think so, because you've got a lot of, right now, you've got a lot of installation in theater, etc., that are using the video games software and technologies. We've seen a lot of hard performance with Kinect sensor based on space recognition, plus audio generation with the different audio engine, F-Mode, Wise, etc., that are used now in art. And so, yeah, for sure.
I just will report somebody well known in the French game industry, Jean-Noël Portugal, told me that from his point of view, a part of the future of game is performance. Like performance became how you make music now. 20 years ago, you were making records and you were making performance to sell your records. Now it's the inverse. You are making performance to get the money, and then people come, you sell a record, online record. And some people think that, and maybe they are true, that the future of a part of the game would be people all around here, somebody, 2 or 3 people paying to a great game made as a spectacle by itself, and they will pay to enter, and the game will be through this real life. I'm sure that it will not be for all games, but it's probably look to the big manifestation of game as a sport, which is an industry, a very big and increasing industry, and more profitable in certain cases than producing and selling games.
Makes sense. Just wonder what's happened to the music industry as the value of recorded music has plummeted. So kind of, yeah.
We've actually been a bit shocked how, because we thought that the music industry and the gaming industry would be far closer together. This is also like your question about the performance, that it actually make natural sense because we all work with music. But the truth is, also after Rock Band, Guitar Hero, you're so much away from each other. And at least, what we discovered is that skepticism comes especially from the music industry side. So if we want to move, bring video games, this very, very young medium compared to music, like the music industry is there for 100 years, the gaming industry is there for 35, 40 years. I think in order to get those pieces move together, you have to talk or work directly with the music industry and bring something that makes them more like a video game. And one idea we've been working on or thinking about is that with the technology that we developed, we could actually support a concert, and all the instruments that would be played real time on stage would generate for mechanics on a big screen a level scenario, and the audience can log into that level and play with the artist in that real-time visualization while he's playing music. And it's constantly changing because the song is constantly changing. So that could be something, since the whole music industry, and that's like the truth, they're not making money with selling music or anything, they're just making money with touring and playing concerts, and that concert needs to be more and more expensive. I mean, I was on a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert in 2001 for 40 euros. I was in the same concert that was half the time for 80 euros 2 years ago or something like that. So they are definitely looking to bring more value inside those concerts to get like higher prices. So this is where the video game industry, we are here for entertaining people. We all have the same mission. So I think there will be collaboration, but the music industry is a bit slow.
We're a bit short on time. I'd like to leave some opportunity for questions from the audience. I'm going to round off with the jokey question, maybe. Right, so, Rockstar, probably the world's most successful developer, is it ironic that they're called Rockstar when all the talent within inside is hidden and effectively anonymous? So, yeah.
It's the irony of the whole game industry. It's the irony of all the game industry. You have very few games where you know who are the people who made the games. Sometimes, Julien is here. Sometimes somebody will say that it's better to have hero as in the title of the game and the people who made the game, and to start with the idea that you don't know who made the game because it's an industrial production.
But I think it's also the question of authorship. I think I was at a panel or a talk like a couple of years ago where the question was about video games and being an author. And I think 10, 12 years ago, and also with games like GTA 5 now with 800 people, 600 people working on it, it's really, really hard to see an author behind it. But for example, with independent games, like with Cannibal or those type of games, you really see a person behind it, his vision, his ideas. And I think those games are helping to bring not this rockstar mentality in there, because that's not really helping, but at the same time it is attracting a lot of people. I mean, because of the industry, a lot of young developers feel like, wow, he did it all by himself, and now he's in that industry, in that dream industry, and can make games and live from that. I want to do the same thing. I mean, that's basically the same stuff what happens in the music industry. If you see a good band on stage, wow, he's a drummer, he's just living the rockstar life, I can be that person. So I think it helps that in a way to open up the industry, but yeah.
And then certainly the indie scene is kind of bringing that back at a certain level, but then there can be also difficult things that happen, as what happened with Phil Fish recently. Anyway, do you have an observation on?
Well, past games, everybody knows it, with, like the Beatles with 4, so everybody's known, and the only question is who's singing and who's playing the guitar. Is it the game designer, who is the singer, who is the graphics guy? So it's difficult to say who's really the leader of the group, but when you're a small team, everybody can be a rock star, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's, do we have any questions from the audience?
Okay. Yes. Yes, I have a question for Fabien. The game you showed, I don't remember the name, the first one, on the video you shown a perfect execution of the score, so it looks great. But what's happening? You didn't show anything about somebody who completely failed. Then, okay, you said that you cannot make bad notes. Okay, all the notes are fine, but what happens if, how does it sound when it's not playing the right way?
Yeah, it was a very interesting question. In fact, every strum you see on the screen has a note, and it always do the right note. But the problem you have is to do it on the right tempo, and to understand how it fits on the timeline. Well, so what happens really, and you realize it unconsciously quite rapidly, is that the bird is the reading head, and you have to strum when just a little before in order to have the time to make the gesture, and when the bird is really on the wire, then you've got the perfect tempo, and you have things showing on screen that indicates the tempo. And the worst thing that you can do in the game is to be out of tempo, and you have one screen of that. You can be out of tempo of one screen. So one screen is like half a second or 1 second. So you can be out of tempo, but the notes are always okay. You're always on the right harmony. So it feels weird if you're doing it. It feels weird, but it's not bad. But it's weird. And you don't recognize really the song that you were supposed to play. So it was saying that will be O Sole Mio. And something paying attention say, really? Are you sure? It feels a bit jerky.
Okay, then, but how do you recognize that it is jerky? Imagine you are the worst musician on earth, and so you can be satisfied with the...
Even very bad musicians know when they are playing bad. My father is the worst singer on earth, but he says, and he's right, I'm hearing okay. I can recognize a good music from bad music, but just when I'm singing it's awful. And I realize it's awful, but I don't know how to make things right. But and usually you take also music that people know, for example, Sole Mio, everybody knows a Sole Mio. So when people are supposed to listen and say, oh, I'm supposed to recognize a Sole Mio, it's not a Sole Mio. Probably I'm not doing the thing right. At the end of the level, you have a score saying, okay, you were good and you were not good. You were on tempo, you were not on tempo. So, but there was also an improvisation mode that you unlocked when you finished the level with a good enough score, and you can replay the level with no constraint, and that was very interesting for improvisation. And when you're good, when you know, and that's why we unlocked the improvisation mode only when you got right on the more demanding mode, then you can start to improvise once you're okay with the score. Once you know it, you can start to improvise.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from the audience? Could I have an indication how we're doing for time? How much time? 5 is okay. All right.
Yes, I have a quick question, which is maybe boring because it's about business. But when you talk about music games, and I've been involved in a lot of different music games, you are involved with the rights, music rights, and if you want to have great music, it costs you rights, but not only it costs, but you need to have the agreement of the publisher, of the author. It takes time, music advance, and blah blah blah. But at the same time, you have some music games which have been very successful, and one of the last one was Song Pop, which was downloaded at 20 million on Facebook, X million on iOS. I don't remember the exact figures, but it's a major success. And the guys were small developers, and they decided to not sign any rights, to just use all known music. But because it became very successful, then all the majors came to discuss at the table, and they found a deal. So it's a question I'm asking. I mean, when you think about music games, you would like to have talented and great music. It's almost impossible. So I'd like to have some feedback on the fact that maybe it's better to not do anything illegally, and after, if you face a success, anyway, you will have to deal with the majors, and you will find a deal anyway if it's a success.
From my experience, because we are really dealing with the music industry, for karaoke games or dancing games, it works, and most of the majors are used to sell the rights for the games, and we've done a lot of vocal extraction on old masters, for example, big, really ABBA, etc. A lot of big names from the 80s, and the games are selling quite well, and the deals, the negotiation with because they know they need the game industry right now. That's totally different from 10 years ago. It's obvious for them. They need to deal with the video game industry, so it's like a negotiation. It takes a lot of time. That's why you got companies that are really doing only that, negotiating rights between the two industries. But there's also another sign. During the last years, as a company dedicated to video games, I get probably one resume per day from really big composers, from the cinema industry, from the music industry, people with really talented people with a lot of experience. So, everybody's looking at the game industry right now. So I think it's the time to create games with great musicians and try to find deals, and things have changed, really.
It's the story is actually really interesting. I think you have to tell it again in detail to me afterwards, because this is something that we recognize, that somebody has to force the music industry to use their brands inside video games, because like the amount they charge, especially the major labels, is ridiculous. It's stupid. It's like I don't even have words for that. It doesn't make any sense from any normal production value, and then it's not even guaranteed, if you have a big star like Lady Gaga, that it will work with your audience. So therefore, I think that story is extremely interesting, because that's always the point. Like, the music industry likes to make money. That's not the point, but they don't like to bet on something that is not 100% sure. So therefore, I think it's extremely interesting that company was forcing them into success and then reacting on it, because that's really the only strategy that I see right now. Because I thought after Rock Band and Guitar Hero, people understand, wow, like the cross-promotion between games and music makes so much sense, and EA even founded their own record label in 2003, and in the beginning they were begging the music industry, can we please have songs for Madden and FIFA, and now the whole music industry is like, can we please be on your soundtrack, because we will be heard from everywhere in the world, and it's like super effective on selling albums and promoting music. But it's like the music industry is holding back a lot, because they're highly skeptical about this young industry that we are in. And so it's a very interesting story that they were really forced to success because they like money.
That's great. I think we're out of time, so thank you very much to Fabien, Vincent,